Okay, so today we're going to take a look at Breeze and what the Breeze meta will be. Up on the screen here, I've got kind of the old meta for you, thinking way back at this point. But this is what the meta used to look like. It was always Sova, always Jet, and all of Viper, whose head I have cut off here. And then there was some debates. Obviously, we did have Chamber a lot before Chamber got nerfed, and then it kind of became Cypher. And there was kind of always a debate between Sky and KO, which went back and forth at different points. And this is what the normal meta on Breeze looked like the last time that we saw this map. And let's start with perhaps the most obvious one, and that is Viper. Because here's the thing, Viper's still gonna get played, right? This wall that, people do across here or whatever is still gonna get used, right? The wall that cuts across like this is still gonna be used, 100%. And the reason that Viper has to still be played on this map is because the sites are so, big still, right? Yes, there are changes to parts of the map that have made it a bit more condensed and stuff like that, but the actual sites themselves, where you need the smokes, yeah, they're still very big and still have very long sight lines, and so you're gonna need a wall smoke here, and Viper obviously is super good, so Viper is still gonna be 100%. I would be shocked, absolutely shocked, if that wasn't the case. In fact, I'll even give you what I think will become a common defensive Viper wall to use as well, and that is this one. Now, this is one that some pro teams used to use. It always kind of annoyed me when they did use it because I never thought that they used it that well. Not that it's a bad wall, just their use wasn't great. But the idea of this wall is that, well, twofold, right? You can either use it to kind of secure this kind of back part of the site and the kind of elbow here on the site, or you can use it for retakes, right? And this is why this wall is going to be so good now. Because of the changes they made here to the stairs and, this box and whatever, this is going to become the main, attacker's base. Or at least, this and B main are going to form the basis of a lot of post plants here for the attackers on the B site. This wall, if you're on the defensive side going for a retake, makes this very difficult for the players back here. And it probably will be multiple players back here, right? And all of a sudden, are they going to risk running through this wall? Maybe not, right? And you just completely cut off these, annoying angles, like them being, back here on that box and then being able to drop away and stuff like that. That's going to be a nightmare to deal with most of the time. So this wall, I would expect to become quite regular. But is there a chance for other controllers to be played on this map? Could double controller be a thing? And I think the answer is yes. Some controllers like Omen, I think, got a pretty significant buff. With some of the changes in here to A main, right? You've now got this one way, playing towards the A site here. Very strong, right? Or if you even take full A main control, right? Like, say if I flash down there towards A main at the kind of start of the round just there and I push them back, it's possible even to get a one-way in here towards A main as well. Now, you don't want to do the smaller one here. That's going to cover, you're not going to see anything. It's not really a one-way. It's more just a smoke. But there is another one you can do that if you just kind of aim it a little bit higher, and, well, it is a bit difficult, tricky to find at points, right? But you can find it. And if you do find it, what you will get is you will get a much better one-way than that one, where this one fades. And now you can see kind of quite a bit deeper, right? And again, for the attackers here, this is, not something that you really want to be dealing with, as the attackers are already dead by this point, right? So, yeah, nice little one-way there for Omen. Will it be enough? I'm not quite sure. But I think he definitely got a bit more playable with some of those changes in towards A main. But is there a place for Harbor on this map? Well, I do think so, because again, Harbor with just the wall smokes, right, is going to be pretty useful to you. Putting walls across, be it on the kind of this doorway as well that will probably be opened a lot, right? Just having those long smokes for both sides, again, is going to be very useful. But I think in particular, there's one reason why Harbor will work so well on this map. And it's actually got nothing to do with Harbor, it's what it allows Viper to do. Because if you're playing Harbor with Viper, what that means is that you can just put down the same Viper setup every single round, right? You could probably do something like this, and I do think that this kind of orb early on in a round might be pretty useful, because the defender's barrier obviously starts kind of back here. So you can get up this orb if they did want to attack in towards A main, and just use this orb to try and gain this A main control or something like this, right? It might be a bit deeper. But, this kind of orb to gain A main control. And what's so good about Harbor is I can put down this setup every single round as a Viper now. Because if we do go towards B, we've got the Harbor smokes, to smoke off B. right? And I've got this setup, and it doesn't mean anything, right? This setup could mean we're going for a full B exec, right? But I can still put up the wall and create just a ton of pressure, right? I could lurk through this. I can come and we can contact walk 5 people up here if we need to, right? And get very deep into the site, get to this point. Harbor smokes go up, we flash through, and now, you know, we attack deeper into the site. Like, and I think that that's very important, because if you do just play only solo Viper and you go for a wall like this, unlike before, I think you're in a lot more trouble. Let me explain why. So this used to be a very common tactic, right? That you used to put up this wall just here, 5 people run A, you plant the spike, and you all run back to main, right? Or maybe one person goes behind the bricks just here, right? That was a very common strategy that you would see, even in the very highest levels of the game. The thing is, that won't work nearly as well now, because there's just a lot less space here in A main. Right, you used to be able, you know, to have people back here and still be able to see the spike. That's no longer the case, right? Now you're in a very small area that any bit of util, and you're in a lot of trouble, right? You're in an absolute ton of trouble here if any kind of utility comes into you. So, yeah, that's definitely not going to be nearly as successful. So if you do want to do this wall, which is still going to be very powerful for getting out here and walking up in onto the site, you know, you're going to need some other smoke, and that's where Harbor comes in. But now let's come to the Sentinel debate between Chamber and Cypher. And it will be Chamber and Cypher. I don't think Killjoy will... the range restriction is just too much. And speaking of range restriction, obviously that's going to go one in Cypher's favor as well. Because, for instance, if I put the Chamber trap just down there, you know, I am still severe... I basically can't go anywhere towards B, right? I still am severely limited in terms of where I can go. So that definitely is still going to be one thing in Cypher's favor. I do think the flank protection got maybe a little less important, because obviously we kind of got rid of some of the lanes, like holes here. You know, defenders can't push down holes anymore, right? So that's kind of one area where they aren't going to be flanking anymore, right? Or, you know, even coming down in towards cave and getting this long kind of sight line down here, that's gone as well, right? So maybe defenders in general feel like flanking is a bit, you know, not as important, at least going on these kind of big flanks. So maybe you don't need as much protection for that in general, which is a mark in Chamber's favor. But really, you know, when we're talking about Chamber, of course, we're talking about defensive setups and, you know, where the good TPs are and stuff like that. And there are still some that, you know, are okay, like coming down here and getting aggressive there in elbow and being able to TP away. Or I could definitely see an A main, right, with the new A main that Chamber could get on these kind of angles, you know, start of the round, barriers drop, put that down there, take this fight, you know, come in here, clear it out, take this fight, get on that angle, and you know, then be able to TP away. Things like that seem very possible. And, you know, Cypher as well is going to have some really nice setups on this map, as he did before. So, really, to me, what probably depends on whether you're going to pick Chamber or Cypher is probably what you're going to do with your Duelist. And the Duelist matters because of Jet, of course. We got the Jet nerfs, and, you know, we still don't fully know how bad is Jet, right? Is she still playable or not? I think that Breeze is a map where she still can be playable. She still has some things going in her favor. For instance, if I want to dash here on towards the B site, I can do, you know, something like this, where I updraft, dash onto the pillar here, don't miss the smoke. But the great thing about being up on this pillar as a Duelist is that it's now going to be able to allow you, you know, you might want the second smoke coming down here on you as well. But, you know, this is going to be a common place for defenders to play in. And this angle, you know, assuming that, you know, we've got our smokes and we've kind of cleared out maybe some of the close corners like so, right? This is going to be a great angle for just coming down here and see what's going on very quickly before scaling towards the kind of deeper side, right? Being up on here, I think is going to be very, very strong. Also, it's a very strong angle for defenders as well, right? Because now, especially, you're going to have maybe a bit more protection here that, you know, if you are on this angle and then you kind of start to fall back, you even have the option to get back and be aggressive again if you want to, right? And kind of just mess around in between the two kind of different sides. So that's definitely still going to be going in Jet's favor. And the thing is, you are going to want one of Jet or Chamber on this map, right? Like, you will want that because the op is going to be so important on this map, right? Having an op agent, an agent that can at least escape. Obviously, the Jet dash, yeah, has been nerfed, but still, there's going to be plenty of times where that dash, or even the smoke still, and an updraft. We've seen, you know, even with just the one updraft as well, there's still going to be times that Jet's going to get away from a situation that other agents simply wouldn't. And with an op in particular, and especially for this map, you're still probably going to want one of Jet or Chamber. And so that's why the Sentinel debate kind of comes back to what your Duelist debate is. Now, in terms of other options for the Duelist, obviously, I think we will be entering a raise meta. And even with some of the, you know, the more crowded positions like this, I still think the map is still a bit too big for Raze, right? I still think there's, you know, not enough there for Raze overall. So you're probably more so looking at an agent like Neon, right? Where, you know, the wall can go very far, the stuns can travel, you know, a nice long distance, and you can slide into your own stuns and die as you do that, like I probably would. But, you know, you could see a retake happen, you know, where, again, if people are in this corner, how the hell did that miss? You know, something like this, and again, you know, killing them, some things like that, I could definitely see. And Neon isn't gonna be that bad on this map, but the thing is, I still kind of feel like Jett might have a bit of an advantage, particularly if you are a decent Jett player, right? Like, again, you know, any kind of Neon wall in there, yeah, it's gonna be nice, right? The stuns kind of into this close corner, you could see something like this definitely happening, right? Where you do stuff like this. And it won't be that bad, and definitely playable in ranked, but I'm not sure that it will be enough to make Neon meta. And the same is probably true with Yoru as well, who might be your other option, right? Where, yeah, there's gonna be some nice things for Yoru to do, right? Things kind of like this, you know, could be pretty nice as Yoru as a whole to go in and, you know, try and get in onto the site. And I like this TP in here, right? It's nice and safe, right? You're in a position where really only this angle or maybe close on this side is really going to probably see you early on. With a flash in there, you could probably, you know, deal with both of those angles as you TP in. And now you're deep on the site and you have options, you know, to come over the top here, right? And pinch people towards the back side or just send it straight to them. So there is some nice things for Yoru on this map as well. The thing is it going to be better than Jett? I feel like probably the answer is still going to be no, even with the nerfs. And then finally, we have the Initiators, and the thing is, again, if I'm going for double controller here with Harbor Viper, then I feel like the most obvious choice is probably Skye, who has a dog that can still clear, you know, all of this kind of back elbow side just here, which I think is still going to be very important, right? The flash duration time does matter somewhat, right? Like if I try and send a flash here, you'll see that it just maybe quite doesn't go fully there. Kind of towards the very back side just there. So the nerfs will hit Skye on this map in particular because it is such a big map and the flash timings, right? If I try and, again, if I try and flash here kind of early on towards A main, that flash is just, it's just not going to quite reach out here. So, you know, if I detonate that here, you know, there could be people right around the corner that are just avoiding the flash. So, you know, you probably will have to get a bit more aggressive and be up here. But, you know, by that time, who knows? You know, they could already be on here, you know, towards you. So, definitely the nerf is going to be a bit of a problem for Skye. But still, I think with double controller, she's probably going to be the best option. And so, to me, this is what the new meta will probably look like. I personally think that Harbor Viper will be very, very strong on this map. I think that that is the way to go. And if you are playing double controller, of course, you need an Initiator who can give you both flashes, Skye, and give you both that drone in the dog. And Skye is the only Initiator that can do that. And that's why she's seen kind of, you know, so much play recently, is because we entered a double controller meta. And I feel like for Breeze, it's just going to be that way as well. Now, there will be some debates. I do think, you know, you will want an opping agent. Maybe you can trust a Yoru enough to do it, and you don't need Jett or Chamber, but in a lot of cases, you probably will, right? And so the rest of it kind of depends on which of those you think is better. If you think that you want to play Jett, then you'll probably play Cypher. If you're happy to play some other duelists like a Neon or a Yoru, then maybe Chamber is going to be the better option for that kind of opping agent that you probably will want on Breeze.